Welcome to the Culture Code Basketball Podcast, hosted by Eldon Marshall and Justice Morrison, the podcast where they dive into the game they love, the stories, the strategy, and the culture that brings it all together. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Today we have a special guest, Matt Rama from Mahpiya Luta. And, he's the girls basketball coach there. And we go way back. And when me and Justice were talking about what we wanted to do on our next episode of the podcast, we thought of possible guests, and my number one choice was you, Matt.
Wow. All right. Well, I don't know about number one choice, but must be hurting for choices right now.
Well, we're talking about culture, and of course, we got, Coach Justice Morrison here, and I was looking at some of the recent achievements here of Coach Rama, and you're a Region 8 Coach of the Year, and Justice was Assistant Coach of the Year in Region 8. So
congratulations.
Yeah, you too.
Well, like I said, Coach Rama, we go way back, and we've been through a lot. I've learned a lot from you over the years. I remember when you started out. I guess you could just start out by introducing maybe where you started coaching and how it, maybe how your philosophy may have changed over the years, and you're right up to where you're at now, if you could.
Sure. So, yeah, we do go way back, and I appreciate you inviting me onto the podcast. I don't know how many listeners you have, but if there's 5 people, I guess 5 people can hear what we got to say today. So,
One's better than none, man.
That's right. One's better than none.
That's right.
So, yeah, I've been coaching for a long time now. I started at middle school level. I had an elementary ed degree first, so I was never planning on ever coaching high school. That wasn't really in my future, I didn't think. So I started coaching middle school and had some success at that. And then people started talking about me coaching high school. So I started coaching first at Martin, and they had boys and girls. So I coached boys and girls my first 3 years of coaching. And I think that really gave me a good start because I was coaching the JV, and I was coaching the junior high, and I was coaching, I don't know, 120 games a year my first couple of years. And so that really helped shape. I just got a lot of game experience in a short amount of time, and that kind of helped shape my ideas on how to find success. And I think that because I set out to not be a high school coach, I just set out to coach middle school and do AAU, and they didn't call it AAU back then, but to take travel teams around. My thought process was never really about winning or championships. It was just about helping kids have good opportunities, especially kids from poorer areas that didn't have the same opportunities. Kind of like when I was young, we didn't have travel teams in my community, but I used to be jealous of people that had that. And so I wanted to give those same opportunities to kids. And so I try to think of the culture for coaching basketball. We've had some success, and that's been great. But I think you try to think about how can you help kids? How can you help them be better people? How can it help them be better members of your community? And so that's kind of been my approach from the start. And I feel like since in the community that I live in is a Native community, the community that I live in is a Lakota community. And so incorporating language and spirituality and things like that, I feel like are really important part of our program and our culture. And so, yeah, I guess that's a long, short intro.
Well, I know that when I first started at St. Francis, I coached the girls and the boys for 1 year, the same year. And that was a learning experience, big time.
and being at St. Francis too, I know that you experience the kids there. They just there's everywhere you go, there's dysfunction. There's problems that kids have to get through when they're young and growing up. And I know that at Pine Ridge, and what so over the years, what you're trying to develop that or instill that how to teach them how to be better and grow up as and learn and want to learn, want to get better. What like challenges do you have had with trying to work with the kids that have that are going through those problems every day?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's one of the things that that working out here is different from working in Sioux Falls or or more affluent community. It's that we have to deal with some of the social issues that the students bring, some of the trauma that they have to deal with, they bring to school. And it might not come out in any sense of like they verbally will say it, except maybe they're defiant or some kids don't have someone tell them to go to bed at night or they don't help them with their diet. And so and those are all important things, right? Because you want a well-rested, well-balanced child that handles, coaching and things somewhat good. And we don't always have that. And so I think that like understanding that coming in is important. Then helping create some of that structure, even from the time the kids are young, is very important. And then having like a rigorous and high expectations in your program for the kids to meet, and helping them find ways to meet them, right? Because they might not just have like you can't just expect the kid to have the skill set to do exactly what you ask. And that doesn't mean like dribble a ball. That might be like get to things on time. And so you have to, have meetings and have discussions and have lots of things to help them understand individually um, how they can achieve that because every person's different, right? So you can't like it's not like one size fits all. You have to really custom fit for every kid and try to help them figure it out.
That's the hard part. Like it's so difficult to like you said, every kid's different. They have each kid has a different story, and it's tough to figure out how to try and touch and reach every student. And sometimes you think you're doing it by yourself, but um, so do over the years, do you feel like you've had some good help with that, like assistant coach wise?
Yeah, I've had fantastic assistant coaches, and I definitely appreciate all the coaches that have been that we've worked together with. So you know, definitely shout out to all of them and to our current assistant coaches, Amanda Carlos, she's like a head coach, and Tara Garnier and Donnie LeBeau. We've had a pretty consistent um, coaching staff right now with the girls, and so that's been just
That's
like for
huge.
you, it's really it makes it a lot easier as the coach if everybody's on the same page for expectations. And
Yep.
and you've coached enough, and I'm sure you've had some coaches in your past that will that they'll talk behind your back, or he should have done this or he should have done that, and having people that support you and kind of are on the same page of you, that's a really important part of a program to have a successful program, right? Because you can't have that person in the background cutting you down.
Definitely. And it's awesome that you have, a female and, as your assistant there to help you. I'm sure that's big time help. But yeah, I've been fortunate to have help like that, with Jared Bowman and now Justice. And he's been huge. So
yeah, it's been fun. At least I always tell him, at least when I cut you down, at least I do it to your face.
Exactly. Exactly.
uh, Coach, I gotta ask, like you guys changed to Mahpiya Luta in 2023, is that right?
Yep. Yep.
Like, how do you like? That's awesome. Like, I think it's cool. You kind of touched on it earlier. kind of incorporating that Lakota culture into your program. Like,
Yeah.
how do you can you give us like maybe some insights on like how you do that? Kind of what that looks like to you? That's like so important, like you said, not only your basketball team, but like to your players. You obviously started with that foundation of wanting to make them better humans, better people, better part of your community, right? Kind of starting as that guiding force of what your program's really about. You want to just touch on that a little bit? I think that'd be really interesting to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, so my second year coaching at when it was still Red Cloud, I had a lot of problems with I was coaching boys then, and I had a lot of problems with the boys, and they really felt like they were gangsters, and they were causing a lot of problems in town, and they were kind of bringing that mentality to school and to the court, and I was just really frustrated with how it was going. And I was talking to an elder, and he said, "Well, you should bring, Lakota prayer into it and some language." He told me that. So at the time, I didn't know any Lakota, but I started calling the plays in Lakota, and we started praying before practice every day, a Lakota prayer. And that year was like we had a good year. We won 15 games, and we felt like we had a lot of success. And that was the first time that the team got the Team Academic Achievement Award. We would meet twice a week at lunch and talk about Lakota values and how they were showing those values in school. And then when I saw that change in the kids, just from the little amount of stuff I was doing, I was like, oh, I got to make a big shift. And from that point, I started learning the language and started like incorporating more language and more culture into practice. Um, and so now, 20 some years later, now we have Lakota language class for older kids that does basketball. We do the basketball camps in Lakota. We sing every day before practice, a prayer song. The kids circle up and they sing it themselves. I don't sing it. We we just try to really, talk about like the uniqueness of them because they're unique kids, but here they're all Lakota. Every kid's Lakota.
Yep.
Um, and so, it's like this is what ties you together, and this is what ties you to this place. And when we go out, we represent in the way that we can. And I feel like that we've done a good job of representing that, like the essence or maybe the spirit of being Lakota, using the language, culture, being visible about that, being verbal about that. And I feel like that has helped enhance what the kids do or how they play, because I think it helps instill pride and not just like we don't, you just like, you can be proud every day of who you are, where you were born, you know? And
Yep.
so, yeah, so that's, I guess, how we do it a little bit.
That's really good. That's really good.
So do you have like a doctorate in co-language now, don't you?
Not in the close language one.
What is it? What do you got a doctorate in?
Yeah, Indigenous language revitalization, but yes, I do have a doctorate.
So coaching helped kind of build that path for you in that regard a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think it just made me interested in like, and even for my own children, like, how do I be a better father?
Mhm.
How do I be a better coach? How do I be a better teacher? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if all these things, like, if this little thing, my second year of coaching helped these kids change just a little thing, a little bit. Well, how much change can you enact if you like really, really try to use the language, or you really, really try to, enhance their spirituality or their identity? And so like, I guess it's sent me on a pathway of like trying to find out more knowledge so that I could be a better instructor, and so that we could have a better place or a better home.
Do the like your lower level, all your kids are kind of involved in all that too. Like your your middle school teams doing this stuff too. Like how does your
Yep.
your
Yep.
alignment with that? They're all doing this too.
Well, so Mahpiya Luta is K through 6 is immersion. So most of those kids spend their day in Lakota anyway, and
Nice.
so they're pretty good. So they it's real normal for them to practice and play in Lakota. So the biggest shift was doing it with the high school kids, and then some of the older middle school kids. But it's pretty common now to hear Lakota at our practice, or I mean, kids to kids, not even adult to kids, but kids to kids. And so I think that yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. And
Yeah.
we have some teams that you can talk to all in Lakota, like the whole, like, because we have grades, like, so we have a whole Pee Wee program, right? So
Yep.
we have a grade for each, if we have grade for each class. And so some of those classes, they have a lot of like really fluent kids, so you can just talk to them in Lakota the whole time. And yeah, so pretty cool.
That's awesome. I know one of the other things I really admire about, all the teams that I've watched you coach, and as of late, you've been on the girls' side here for a while, but you coach your kids really hard, like, and not like to genderize it so much, but I don't think that's as common in girls basketball. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get on, like you get on them hard, like Eldon would to our guys, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you like? Talk to me about like your relationship building and like the trust. Like, how do you build that trust in your practices or your day to day? I'm sure it kind of happens as the season goes on, but like maybe as a freshman coming into your program, and I'm sure you coach each kid differently, but like you bring that intensity and that fire to all your kids. Every game, no matter what game you're playing. I watch you guys play a lot. That 8 a.m., 9 a.m. game, you're coaching them just as hard playing whoever, and you were coaching them just as hard or harder, in that state championship game. So maybe tell us about like how you build that trust in your program to be able to do that, have those conversations, especially those difficult ones out there like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can say now that I'm getting pretty old here, almost as old as Eldon, but a lot of the kids, I've been, because I do the Pee Wee programs too, right? And I do the middle school programs, and so a lot of the kids, like, right now we have Ashlyn that signed at USD.
Yep.
Well, she can tell you the story that when she was 4 years old, I was the first person to give her a basketball at Pee Wee basketball, and I said, okay, you're gonna take it out every time, you know. So like I've known most of the kids the majority of their life. So like they probably similar to White River or similar to smaller towns is that like they don't just show up at school and you see them from the time they've been 4 years old. And I've had some kids that have grown up with them. And so I
Yep.
think that by the time that they get to high school, we've already known each other for 10 years or 12
Yeah.
years or whatever. So like the relationship's a little bit better and different. And I think that like I have the same expectations as them as like a family member of like I'm not trying like I want you to succeed in life and I want you to succeed on the court and I'm going to hold you to an expectation of that, of like a level of commitment when you're here, to do this the best you can, and we're not going to do it lackadaisical. And I
Yep.
would do that same thing with my own kids. And so I
Yep.
feel like having that expectation and then like having that like longevity of interaction, it creates for it where it's pretty easy for them to know that that's the expectation and for them to try to achieve it, and knowing that like we expect that from you every day. And like I think that like that's the goal, right? Like especially in the place that we're at, and especially in the place that we're at is like you should expect that for them, not just like I expect that from you on the court. I expect you from
Yep.
you in school. I expect you to be on time. I expect you to be on time to class. I expect you to get good grades. We expect to get the state academic achievement award. Like we're gonna hang you up in the wall on the hall if you get academic all state. We're celebrating our academic all-staters. We're celebrating our academic all-conference. Like, like we got to have that expectation for kids in all areas, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
so, and if you do that, then they just begin to feel like, oh, this person, when they see me, they're going to expect this of me. And so I'm going to try to give that. And just like when we were young or when we had good leaders, we've had poor leaders and we've had good leaders. We've all experienced that, right? And when you have someone that you feel is a good leader, you try to do better. You try to work harder. You try to meet their expectations, right? Whereas when it's someone that you is not quite a good leader, or you don't feel like they're leading you in a good way, you don't care about trying to meet that, and you're the level of investment you give is low.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Really good.
So how do
So
you, you know, like when you have those expectations, like how do you really convey, like say to your girls basketball, yeah, they've been with you, depending on the, you know, 3, 4, 5 instant recruits you get every year. Now they're brand new ones. Uh,
yeah.
just kidding. That's a joke. But you know, like no matter who's playing for you, like at the beginning of the year, or you know, how do you convey like the expectations that is, you know, expect that your standards that you live by every day? How do you guys meet at the beginning of the year? Is it just something you do? You know, do you have a process that you do every year on that?
Yeah, we have weekly meetings. We have weekly meetings from this very first week of school. Um, so we have weekly meetings with everybody that's going out for basketball. So we have that once a week at lunch. We just had it today, actually. So that's one of the ways that we convey it. You know, I think we try to have a lot of individual meetings, just to, you know, because everybody has individual things that they need to be working on, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
if they're failing to meet some of the expectations for us to be successful, verbalizing that early, like, you know, you have to do more, you have to be in better shape, you have to be a better shooter, like you can't wait until November, it'll be too late. You know, do you want to be an LNI champ? Well, if you want to be an LNI champ, the work has to happen right now because it's an early season tournament, we can't wait, you know. And like really getting them, verbalizing that early and talking about it on a regular basis is important, I think, to
Mm-hmm.
like inspire them to want to achieve, to want to be that. Because like I try to tell them all the time, it's like, this is your year. This isn't my year. You know what I mean? Like I've already had successful days. So if I don't this year, I got another team next year. You know what I mean, or whatever. Or I
Yeah.
have a memory of a team.
Kind of take
But
that ownership a little bit.
yeah, this is your year. This is your year. So it's like, what do you want for your senior year, for your junior year? You know, what do you want? Because it's your year. If you don't want to work, that's fine. But just understand that, like, you don't get an A. You don't get an A in chemistry if you don't study. You don't
Yep.
get a 4.0 if you don't study. If you're okay with being an average student, that's okay. That's your choice. I can't change that. But you can't expect to be an A student if you're putting in average work. And you can't expect to compete with the schools that are close to Sioux Falls and Rapid that have someone else to work them out and
Mhm.
all these other opportunities, someone to do speed workouts in the summer when we're here just by ourselves asking you to go, right? You can't go to Warwick workouts or E3 or
Yep.
Pentagon workouts. You got to go to the gym by yourself and do a workout because Sioux Falls Christian sure enough is, I guarantee it, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
And so you have to kind of, if we want to be at that level, we have to inspire and encourage and really make it important for them to understand if you want to be in that level, you have to put in the work. You do. You have to choose as a group of kids to put in the work so that you can have the opportunity to be at that level. Because if not, we'll be behind the cities or the towns that are close to cities.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Awesome. Um, yeah, we know, and it's real easy for those standards or whatever they do to slip. You know, it's really easy for the kids to, you know, try and take the easy path. You know, and as coaches, I think we still, in order for them to meet our expectations, we still got to have those expectations for them too. And you know, you're a part of this. You got to make your commitment. But I know, like, so I just want to kind of go talk about like you know, the res ball, like basketball. Basketball is the thing. Am I
Yep.
right? Like it's
Love
the
it.
thing, and I think that's one way that you can help kids. You know, take the path that'll help them become successful down the road. Hopefully, you know, you possibly playing in college, or you know, even thinking about college, or you know, or whatever. But so like you do all this, and you know they you want them to be successful because it kind of validates it, or you know, with whatever they think there's whatever they're fighting for, they want to be whatever as a coach or as a team, as a program, you have whatever you define success as, and you go out and you go work hard, you're right there, and it doesn't happen. An example is like the state championship game last year, and I've been through plenty of tough defeats with our kids. But man, you guys are right there. You had an awesome season, awesome game, and we're rooting for you. And it didn't happen. What do you say to your team after a game like that, after a season like that?
Well, I think the thing, that's a great question, and that's like and I definitely know you understand this, but it's like I mean, I'm not trying to like define. I'm definitely not defining my life by championships won. So I don't try to like. I never think of that as the goal, right? The goal is to try to win the championship, and then the journey is what you're gonna remember, right? Like, if you win state, you're gonna feel great for that moment, and then you're gonna remember the journey. If you don't win state, you're going to feel sad in that moment, and you're still going to remember the journey, right? Like, the memory of the loss will sting a little bit, but as time goes on, you're just going to remember your buddies, and we did this and this happened, and oh, we almost won, and it's just a beautiful thing. And if you get fifth, you still remember the journey, right?
Yep.
Like, it isn't like it doesn't. If you did the best you could, and you got, didn't even make the state, it's still, those are the kids that you did it with, and the experience is like, that's the goal, right? Like, that's what you want for them, and you want them to try to be a champion, and you want them to work hard to be a champion, because that's what you should try to be now. And it's also a good life lesson because they're very young in life, but life doesn't always work out. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Things
Yeah.
don't always. You don't always get the job you want. You don't always get the raise you want. You
Mhm.
sometimes things work out and way beyond your control, and you have to be able to deal with those disappointments, right? This is just a basketball game, but it's definitely a life lesson. But you can still try your best and try to do these things, and if you fall a little short, that's okay, because you can be okay with yourself. You can be okay with yourself if you know you did the best that you can. you know I feel like that's what and I say that on a regular basis. Like, you don't want to leave this game or leave this year saying, I wish I would have. you know. And like, after we lost last year, I feel like we did the best we could. The ball falls this way, the ball doesn't fall that way. That just
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
That's a life lesson, right? Would
Yep.
have felt great if we would have won it. And then I feel fine. I feel like we had a great year. Felt really good about the kids. We had 3 kids signed for college. 1 kid's running cross country of our 4 seniors. Like, what a fantastic year, and what a great way for you to move on in life. And so I think that, like, it's the journey that you really got to stress. It's the preparation. It's the friendships that they make with their team. That's what's going to be their memory. That's what's going to be the importance to them as they move forward. And so, don't get me wrong, I would have liked to win last year, but
I
Yep.
know.
Yep.
I know. But
but
all you can do too is keep going forward. Get ready for next year, and be even more motivated, hopefully, and to be the best that you can be. And like you said, if a caller here or play here, and
All bounce.
never
Yep.
know what can happen. So we got just a couple more minutes, Coach Rama. Anything else,
No,
Coach Justice?
always rooting for you. Thanks for coming on. I always enjoy watching your teams play. I feel like I always take something away from you guys, especially your full court defense. We've been trying to mix in little full court zone trap, and always learn from you. So thanks for being on, and rooting for you guys next year. Hopefully you guys have a great year, and wish you the best, dude.
Who knows? We might have to check in again.
Yeah, you might have to join us here. Or if our listeners are up to 10, man, you got to get back on the 20.
yeah, I do remember, though, when I was early coaching, and we play White River in St. Francis, and we was beating them pretty regularly, except for LNI championship, kept losing to them. And I remember watching when you had won it and I think we had lost earlier, and I was thinking, man, I just want to win LNI one time in my career. It's just like, that looks so awesome. And I was so envious of you and, you know, and what you had done and the career you've built, especially at such a small school. So definitely appreciate all the things that you've done and showed me and given to me. And so I definitely want to say thankful to you. Thank you to you. And appreciate you guys having me on. And, you know, I'm always rooting for you guys and definitely appreciate you. So thank you.
I can bring up all kinds of stuff. I'll bring up one. I remember when you did win it though with the boys, and you took us out hard by 20 in the championship game, and I think Louis was a senior. And I just remember talking to the media guy after, and I go, "We want to play like them. We want to play like them. They're fast. They go hard, man, and they, you know." So that's how we want to play. And fortunately, the year after we did. So
Yes, you did.
kept going from there.
Yeah, the next year we lost to you.
So,
Not good. So
it's all about relationships, and relationships that you and I have, and gained over the years. I know I'm very thankful for it, and I learned a lot from you, and really thankful that you're on and to share, and hopefully we can help some other coaches and players and parents too to help figure it out. So
yeah,
really
I think
appreciate it.
this is
Go
a
ahead.
great podcast, and I think coaching's a tough profession, and I definitely encourage young people to get into it though, and it's rewarding, but it is tough, and so I think having these kind of podcasts and I know stuff like this helped me when I was young, and so young coaches continue to listen and grow, and yeah.
Yep.
Awesome, Coach Rama.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Thanks, dude.
good talking to you guys. Dope shot.
Yep. Yeah, later. Doksa.
That's it for today's episode of the Culture Code Basketball Podcast. We want you to be part of our conversation, so if you have a question, send it our way in the comments or reach out to us on social media. Thank you for listening. See you in 2 weeks.